Princess Arabella Hawthorne, daughter of King Reginald and Queen Lillian, was admired by the villagers of Willowbrook for her beauty, but her heart was cruel and proud. She often ignored her parents' kind advice, mocking them when they asked her to behave politely. Arabella demanded attention wherever she went, throwing tantrums if her whims were not immediately satisfied, and laughing harshly at those who displeased her. The castle servants whispered that the princess's charm had vanished, replaced by arrogance, and even the royal pets seemed wary of her sharp words. Villagers passing the castle gates would bow politely, but secretly hoped she would learn kindness. Arabella, oblivious to the hurt she caused, wandered the castle halls in her elegant gowns, tossing her long golden hair and believing herself untouchable, never imagining that her pride could lead to a fate far worse than she could ever dream. One morning, as sunlight streamed through the castle windows, a wise woman named Esmeralda appeared at the gates of Willowbrook. Her eyes glimmered with ancient wisdom as she spoke calmly but firmly. "Princess Arabella, your pride and cruelty will bring misfortune if you do not change your ways." Arabella laughed haughtily, tossing her head. "Old woman, your warnings are meaningless." The villagers gasped quietly, fearful of what might happen, while her parents watched nervously. Esmeralda shook her head, her voice tinged with sorrow, and vanished into the forest beyond the village, leaving behind an eerie hush. That evening, Arabella sat alone in her lavish chamber, her reflection in the mirror appearing sharper, colder, and harsher. A small shiver ran down her spine as she noticed a flicker of unease in her own eyes, though she stubbornly refused to admit it. Deep down, though, a tiny seed of fear had begun to take root in her proud heart. Arabella awoke the next morning to a startling discovery. Her reflection in the ornate mirror had shifted subtly, her features appearing more severe, her eyes narrow and piercing. She gasped in horror, stumbling backward, and ran to her parents, hoping for comfort. King Reginald reached for her hands, and Queen Lillian embraced her gently, trying to calm her trembling. "Arabella, my dear, perhaps this is a sign to reconsider your behavior," her mother whispered softly. Arabella, still proud and unwilling to admit her mistakes, insisted the change was a trick of the light. That day, even the castle animals avoided her presence, and the halls felt cold and unwelcoming. The servants whispered nervously, worried that the princess's heart was growing darker. Arabella, for the first time, sensed the possibility that her arrogance might have consequences she could not ignore, though she tried to bury the thought deep inside. Days later, Esmeralda returned to the castle, her presence bright and commanding. "Arabella Hawthorne," she said firmly, "your cruelty has not only hurt others, but will now change your own life." Before Arabella could respond, a brilliant light enveloped her, as she screamed as her body twisted and transformed. Her hands lengthened into claws, her skin grew rough and coarse, and her voice erupted in a deep, terrifying growl. Panic filled her heart as she realized the wise woman's warning had been true. Her room, once familiar, seemed alien, the walls towering above her monstrous form. She fled the castle, terrified that she would harm anyone who approached. Each step into the village streets caused whispers and screams, and she understood that she could no longer be the princess she once was. Her pride had led her to this beastly existence, and only learning kindness could save her. Arabella wandered into the dense forest beyond Willowbrook, hiding from villagers who now feared the terrifying beast roaming their streets. Nights were long, cold, and lonely. She shivered under the moonlight, her stomach aching with hunger. As days passed, she began to notice the beauty of the forest, the soft rustle of the leaves, the gentle glow of fireflies, and the soothing songs of birds. Slowly, these moments of peace began to soften her heart, and she realized how much she missed her parents' love. Each night, she lay beneath the trees, remembering their gentle voices, and felt a pang of regret she could not ignore. The more she reflected, the more she understood the depth of her previous mistakes, recognizing that pride and cruelty had cost her everything she once held dear. Her monstrous form now reflected the turmoil inside her, yet a tiny spark of hope glimmered in her heart. One stormy evening, Arabella heard a faint cry for help among the rain-soaked trees. She discovered a small boy named Henry, shivering and lost in the forest. Though afraid of scaring him with her monstrous appearance, she gently guided him to a dry shelter she had fashioned from fallen branches. Henry looked up into her eyes, wide with fear at first, but then softened as he sensed her kindness. She offered him food, warmth, and comfort, watching as his tears turned to smiles. That night, as she lay under the canopy of stars, Arabella felt a strange warmth in her heart, an unfamiliar feeling of joy and satisfaction that came from helping another. For the first time, she understood that kindness could bring happiness far greater than wealth or power, and that it was this very kindness that might one day restore her to her true self. Over the following weeks, Arabella dedicated herself to acts of kindness, helping lost travelers, caring for injured animals, and leaving small gifts of food near the village edges for those in need. Each gesture, no matter how small, eased the beastly anger and loneliness she had felt, making her claws shrink and her rough skin smooth ever so slightly. She began to speak softly, learning patience, and noticed how comforting even simple words could be. Her heart, once hardened, slowly opened to the beauty of selflessness. She saw gratitude in the eyes of those she helped, and a sense of purpose replaced her former arrogance. In the quiet moments beneath the trees, Arabella reflected on her mistakes, realizing that pride had blinded her to the world's wonders. The forest became a classroom, teaching her the true meaning of empathy, and she understood that the journey to redemption required courage, humility, and a sincere desire to change. Despite her growing kindness, the villagers remained terrified of the beast wandering near Willowbrook. Arabella could see their fear whenever she peeked from the shadows, and guilt weighed heavily on her heart. She remembered the harsh words she had spoken to neighbors, friends, and even strangers, and realized how deeply she had hurt the people she had once thought beneath her. She longed to return to her parents and the castle, yet shame and fear of rejection held her back. Each day, as she watched children play and villagers work, Arabella's remorse grew, and she prayed silently for the chance to make amends. Her heart ached for forgiveness, for the touch of her parents' hands, and for the warmth of a home she had abandoned. In the quiet forest, she whispered promises to change, hoping her actions would speak louder than the mistakes she could not undo. One peaceful evening, Arabella found an old piece of parchment and a quill she had hidden in the forest. Her hands trembled as she began to write to her parents, confessing every mistake and expressing her heartfelt regret. "Mother, Father, I am sorry for my pride and cruelty," she wrote, tears staining the ink. "I have learned to care for others and to listen, and I hope you can forgive me." She described the loneliness of her beastly existence, the lessons of kindness she had learned, and her desire to return home. As she sealed the letter, Arabella felt a mixture of fear and hope, praying that King Reginald and Queen Lillian would read her words with open hearts. It was the first step in rebuilding the bond she had broken through years of arrogance. Queen Lillian carefully read Arabella's letter, her eyes glistening with tears as she felt the genuine remorse in her daughter's words. "Reginald," she whispered to the king, "she has begun to change. We must believe in her." King Reginald smiled softly, folding the letter with a tender hand, his heart filled with hope. They sent word to prepare a small gathering in the castle courtyard, a celebration of her courage to seek forgiveness. Villagers and servants, though cautious, whispered excitedly, wondering if the beast who had haunted their forests would finally return home. That evening, Arabella, trembling with both fear and hope, read her letter one last time. She pressed it close to her chest, feeling the love and patience of her parents despite years of cruelty. Her heart swelled with longing to see them and to finally show that she had truly changed. Arabella cautiously approached Willowbrook at dawn, her beastly form still partially lingering as fog curled around her paws. Villagers peeked from their windows and doorways, whispers of fear spreading quickly. She heard King Reginald calling her name in a gentle, hopeful voice, and her heart fluttered with both dread and longing. Each step toward the castle made her body tremble, her monstrous claws shrinking as her love for her parents filled her with courage. Memories of her arrogance and the hurt she had caused flashed through her mind, making her eyes glisten with tears. Finally, she reached the castle courtyard, her voice shaking as she called out, "Mother, Father, I am sorry." The villagers fell silent, witnessing a creature who no longer seemed fierce, but full of humility. Arabella felt the first true warmth in her heart, a signal that redemption was within reach if she embraced it fully. Arabella stood before the villagers, her voice soft yet sincere. "I am sorry for all the pain I have caused," she said, bowing her head. The crowd, tense and cautious, watched in astonishment as the beastly features that had terrified them slowly melted away. Her claws shrank, her rough skin smoothed, and the golden hair they remembered fell gently around her shoulders. Eyes wide with amazement, the villagers whispered and then slowly stepped forward, seeing the kind heart shining through her gaze. Arabella continued, explaining her journey, the lessons of kindness, humility, and helping others. Her words resonated deeply, and the fear in their hearts softened into understanding and forgiveness. Children ran forward to embrace her, and even the adults nodded, seeing a princess transformed not just in appearance, but in spirit. For the first time in years, Arabella felt the warmth of belonging and love from those she had once scorned. King Reginald and Queen Lillian ran toward Arabella, tears streaming down their faces as they embraced her tightly. "We never stopped loving you," Queen Lillian whispered, holding her daughter close. Arabella wept, finally feeling the depth of her parents' love and the weight of her past mistakes. She apologized again, promising to live humbly and to always cherish the kindness and patience they had shown her. The courtyard, filled with villagers who had come to witness this reunion, erupted in soft cheers and applause. Arabella's heart, once heavy with pride and cruelty, now overflowed with gratitude and understanding. She realized that forgiveness and love had the power to heal not only relationships, but also one's own heart. That day, the castle felt warmer, filled with laughter, joy, and the promise of a future where compassion would guide her actions. Arabella spent the following days helping villagers rebuild what had been neglected during her years of pride. She cared for sick animals, helped mend fences, and listened patiently to her parents' advice. Each act of service deepened her understanding of empathy, humility, and responsibility. She discovered that true beauty and status were meaningless without a kind and loving heart. The villagers slowly came to admire her not only for her royal heritage, but for her actions and character. Arabella learned to pause before speaking, to value the feelings of others, and to find joy in giving rather than receiving. Her laughter, once sharp and cruel, became warm and inviting. The forest, once a place of isolation, now reminded her of the lessons learned and the transformation within. Arabella finally understood that the curse had not been punishment alone. It had been a path to growth and true self-discovery. Arabella visited villagers she had once treated harshly, offering sincere apologies and assistance. Slowly, friendships blossomed anew, and laughter returned to the village streets. She learned that forgiveness, both given and received, lightened the heart more than any treasure or crown. Children eagerly gathered around her, curious to hear stories of her lessons in humility and kindness. Even the adults, some skeptical at first, began to respect her dedication to improving herself and serving the community. Arabella realized that the pain she had caused could be healed not by her words alone, but by consistent actions and sincere care. Her heart, once hardened by pride, now overflowed with compassion. Every helping hand, every comforting word, strengthened her bond with the village she had once scorned. The princess had become a living example of how courage, humility, and a willingness to change could restore both reputation and relationships. One golden morning, as Arabella tended to a group of playful children near the forest's edge, Esmeralda appeared once more. "Princess Arabella," she said, eyes sparkling, "you have learned well. You have turned your heart toward kindness and humility, and for that, the curse is lifted forever." Arabella bowed deeply, gratitude flooding her being. The wise woman's presence radiated warmth, and a gentle silver light shimmered around her before she vanished into the trees, leaving a peaceful hush behind. Arabella realized that the lessons she had learned were not just for the curse to end. They were the foundation of the person she would become. She had grown stronger, braver, and wiser through the challenges, and the village now saw her as a leader with compassion at her core. Her heart, once shadowed by arrogance, was finally free, glowing with the love and care she had long ignored. Willowbrook celebrated Princess Arabella's return with a grand festival. Streets were adorned with vibrant flowers, music echoed through the village, and children danced in joy. Arabella, wearing a simple yet elegant gown, thanked the villagers for their patience, kindness, and forgiveness. She moved through the crowds, laughing warmly, helping those who needed guidance, and sharing smiles freely. The festival became a symbol of hope and transformation, reminding everyone that even the hardest hearts could change. Parents pointed to her as an example for their children, and Arabella spoke of lessons in humility, empathy, and the importance of caring for others. The sun set over Willowbrook, casting a golden glow over the celebrations, and the village seemed to shine brighter than ever. Arabella's heart swelled with gratitude, joy, and the certainty that her journey of growth had only just begun, guided by love and kindness. Arabella often reflected on her journey from arrogance to empathy, remembering the cold nights in the forest, the terror of her beastly form, and the loneliness she had endured. She realized that every act of kindness, no matter how small, had brought her closer to the person she wanted to be. Each day, she continued helping villagers, teaching children the importance of patience and understanding. Her laughter, gentle and sincere, became a melody of hope throughout Willowbrook. Arabella knew that true royalty was not measured by wealth or beauty, but by the love and care shown to others. Her parents beamed with pride, seeing their daughter's heart shine brighter than any crown. She embraced the lessons of her past, using them to guide her decisions, heal relationships, and inspire her community. Arabella's transformation was complete, not in appearance alone, but in the goodness radiating from her heart. With her parents' guidance, Arabella helped rule Willowbrook with fairness, wisdom, and compassion. She established gardens, schools, and places for villagers to gather, ensuring everyone felt valued. Children adored her storytelling sessions, where she shared tales of courage, mistakes, and learning from them. The village thrived, a testament to the power of kindness and leadership rooted in humility. Arabella never forgot her journey. The curse that had forced reflection, the isolation that had taught empathy, and the opportunities to make amends. She often walked through the village, smiling at familiar faces, helping anyone in need, and encouraging everyone to act with compassion. The villagers respected her not just as a princess, but as a true friend and guide. Her story spread beyond Willowbrook, inspiring neighboring villages and proving that even the proudest heart could grow, change, and bring joy to countless lives. Years later, Arabella gathered the children of Willowbrook under the shade of the castle's grand trees. "Remember," she said gently, "mistakes can teach us lessons, and a heart that asks for forgiveness can always be restored." The children listened wide-eyed as she recounted her journey from pride and cruelty to humility and love, emphasizing the importance of kindness, empathy, and helping others. She encouraged them to act bravely when correcting mistakes, to forgive those who hurt them, and to spread compassion wherever they went. The villagers, watching nearby, nodded in agreement, grateful for her wisdom. Arabella's story became a guiding light in Willowbrook, teaching all generations that no one is beyond change. Dear reader, take a page from Arabella's life. Be kind, seek forgiveness, and share this story with someone who needs hope today. Every act of love can transform hearts, including your own. Make sure to like and subscribe to our channel for more stories.